What's going on, guys? This is Matt, and this past weekend I actually had the opportunity to help a friend build a Ryzen 5 based gaming PC, and it actually turned out really well. He definitely went the deal hunting route and was able to get a really well performing PC for not that much money, so let's go over what parts he used in the system.
Starting off with the CPU, Josh knew he wanted to go with a Ryzen 5 CPU, which for his budget it made the most sense as Ryzen 5 provides really good value for the money. I was helping him look for deals and stumbled across a post on Craigslist where a guy was advertising a Ryzen 5 1500X for only $100 slightly used. The CPU retails for $190, so it was basically half off. He ended up meeting up with the guy who tested the CPU in front of him to prove that it worked and included the stock cooler in the price. While there, Josh also snagged 16GB of DDR4, 2666 MHz RAM, and 3 RGB LED Thermaltake fans for $90. So just to recap, for $190 total, he was able to get the Ryzen 5 1500X with Wraith cooler, 16GB of DDR4, and 3 RGB LED fans. Oh, and the guy also threw in an RGB RAM cooler, but it didn't really fit because of the size of the stock AMD cooler. For the motherboard, Josh ended up buying an ASRock Pro 4 B350 motherboard from Newegg for around $90. It has a bunch of really nice features along with the ability to overclock if he wants to in the future, but because he is using the stock cooler, overclocking isn't currently a very high priority. For graphics, he went with an XFX RX 480 with 4GB of VRAM that he purchased from a friend for only $100, which was an incredible deal and meets Josh's current gaming needs really well. Some of you may think that 4GB isn't enough VRAM, but because Josh plays on a 1080p 144Hz monitor, VRAM usage should rarely if ever reach the 4GB limit. Also, because the 1500X is a pretty powerful CPU for gaming, Josh can upgrade to a more powerful GPU in the future if he feels the RX 480 isn't keeping up. Powering the system is an EVGA 500W 80+ certified power supply. This isn't the greatest power supply or anything, but it gets the job done, providing plenty of headroom for light overclocking or some future upgrades, and fits well into his budget at around $30. It's non-modular, but because of the case it was pretty easy to hide all of the cable clutter. For the case, I was able to hook up Josh with an Inwin 303 for a very significant discount over retail price, and I really think it ties the whole build together. The 3 LED fans across the top of the case look absolutely amazing and make the overall build look really premium. The fans have a few different modes and can even pulse to the beat of whatever music you're listening to, which is pretty neat. Finally, for storage, Josh has an OCZ Trion 150 240GB, which he moved from his old system. He picked this up a while ago used for $40 and it's worked well ever since. He'll probably add a second hard drive in the future for extra storage, but for now the SSD holds everything he needs. Putting together the PC was pretty straightforward, and this was his first PC build he has done from scratch, so I think he did really well for his first time. The only problem we really ran into was that with the default drivers from Windows, the Ethernet port wasn't working. The drivers from the included disk weren't enabling the Ethernet port either, but after downloading the newest LAN drivers from ASRock's website onto a flash drive and installing them onto the machine, it started working perfectly and Josh was able to start downloading all of his games and programs. I had Josh load up a few of his most played games to see what kind of performance he was getting, and overall the system performs really well. Now, I'm not positive if we had all the drivers downloaded when we tested games, but it still performed really well. The 3 games Josh plays the most are Overwatch, Black Desert Online, and League of Legends, so we decided to test Overwatch and BDO, as League of Legends was obviously going to perform perfectly fine. In Overwatch at high settings, Josh's system was producing an average of 120 FPS when he jumped into a game at 1080p high settings, which is really good, and I saw him jump into a game later with less background tasks running, and he was actually getting a locked 144Hz at the same settings, which is great because he has a monitor that can take advantage of all those frames. For Black Desert Online, Josh was playing again at high settings and saw an average FPS in the upper 50s, which is actually pretty good seeing that BDO is not a super well optimized game. Overall, for around $500, Josh has a really amazing system for not only gaming, but also streaming and even some light editing, seeing he has 8 threads on his CPU. I think the build looks and performs really well, but most importantly, Josh is very happy with it and it meets his needs really well. I'm really glad I had the opportunity to help him build it, and shout out to Joe for selling him the CPU, RAM, and fans for such a good deal. The PC would not have been possible at this price point if it wasn't for that amazing deal. So yeah guys, I think this wraps this video up. If you enjoyed it, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up, as well as consider subscribing for more PC and tech related content in the future. And as always, this is Matt from Tech by Matt, signing out.